Yes, sir. Sure. The second thing that I need to do is I need to take the conjunction of two statements. That's always going to be my second action, to take the conjunction of two statements. The question is, why? And to understand why, I need to go back to the definition of an argument. What is an argument?
An argument is a
reasoning that
two statements called premise.
Two or more statements called premise imply the conclusion.
Right. And you're missing the key word there. You kind of got me. You got the first third of the definition. You got the final half of the definition, but you're missing that one part there. An argument is a reasoning that the conjunction of two or more statements called premises implies another statement called the conclusion. The conjunction of two or more statements. So what I'm doing is I'm going to put statements together two at a time. And I'm going to simplify them using modus ponens or modus tollens or hypothetical syllogism. What does it mean to simplify something? Okay. I need to make it easier, right? So if I look at modus ponens, let me write modus ponens down here real quick. So we had modus ponens. How do I write modus ponens?
P conditional Q.
P conditional Q.
Conjunction P. Implies Q.
Implies Q. Notice that I'm going from having 3 letters to having 1 letter. What's modus tollens?
P
conditional Q.
Negation Q.
Negation Q.
Conditional negation P.
Implies negation P. And what's hypothetical syllogism?
P conditional Q. Q conditional R. Implies P conditional R.
Okay. So notice here I'm going from 4 letters to just 2 letters. So when I talk about simplifying using modus ponens, modus tollens, hypothetical syllogism, I'm going from a complex logic statement to a simpler logic statement. And this takes us to step 4. Step 4 says we have to repeat until we reach. If you've reached your conclusion, then you've proven the argument valid.
But what if there's still more?
If there's still more, then that must be like when we have extra information in our math problems, which is fine. We can have more information. But once we reach our conclusion, then we know we're done. It's valid. If we haven't reached our conclusion, well, then we need to repeat steps 2, 3, and 4 until that happens. So then I ask this question. How many of y'all wash your hair? Great. 9 of y'all wash your hair. That's wonderful. There are instructions on the bottle of shampoo, right? Yeah, there are. You should read it when you're in the shower and you have nothing better to do. The first instruction says to lather. What does it mean to lather?
To, scrub it in.
You're massaging it in your head. What you're actually doing is you're mixing soap and water. You're putting 2 things together. And then the second instruction says to rinse. What are you doing when you're rinsing?
Washing it out.
Yeah, you're washing it out. You're getting rid of everything you don't want so that you keep what you do want. And I wish I had more hair, but I could say, if I washed my hair, I'd want to keep my hair and not keep the soap.
So you want to keep your hair and keep the smell.
Right, but you don't want to keep the soap. That kind of makes it dry and itchy and scratchy. And then the third step is to repeat, because the shampoo people really want you to buy more shampoo, and if you use twice as much as you're supposed to, then they've done their job. So lather, rinse, repeat. That's basically what we're doing. We're putting stuff together. We're putting our water and our shampoo together. That's the lather part. And then we rinse. We want to simplify. We want to get down so we have fewer letters. That's the rinse part. And then we repeat. We keep doing this until we reach our conclusion. If we haven't reached our conclusion, we still have a job to do. There's still a part of our body that's not clean. And we have to stay and clean it. That's our job, right?
Yes.
So, I'm going to write an argument up here. This argument may look familiar. So, if it is raining, then the picnic
Oh, it's canceled.
is canceled.
If the picnic is canceled, something
If
else.
it is not raining,
Then the soccer game is on.
then the soccer game is not delayed.
Delayed.
But the picnic is not canceled.
Therefore, the soccer game is not delayed.
Therefore, the soccer game. Gosh, this sounds familiar. It sounds like y'all had seen this before. Yeah.
We saw this on homework.
Saw it on the homework. It was
And
also on the quiz.
Yes.
And for those of y'all that read, it's also example 22 in your textbook on page 28. So yeah, this is something that's been recurring, and I'm hoping that it was really easy because you'd seen it like 2 or 3 times before you took the quiz.
So, wouldn't that... Wait, can we put P, negation P, conditional negation Q for picnic is... If it is raining... If it is raining, then the picnic is canceled?
We can. We're going to get to that in just a moment. So the first sentence says, if it is raining, then the picnic is canceled. How can I write that using symbols? R, conditional P. Okay? So R for it is raining, P for the picnic is canceled. For my second sentence says, if it is not raining, then the soccer game is not delayed.
So that's
Negation R,
conditional
You want to use S for the soccer game is not delayed?
Yes.
Is there anything wrong with using negation S?
No.
Either way is fine, right? Because they're both statements. A statement is a sentence that is either true or false. Third statement, the picnic is not canceled. Negation P. Okay, if you use C up here, then it would be negation C. Therefore,
the soccer game is not canceled, so it's S.
the soccer game is not delayed. That's exactly the same as the soccer game is not delayed, so it should be the same letter. So if you chose to use S, we have to keep using S. If you chose to use negation S, then we keep using negation S. So I have to list my premises, I have to list my conclusion. So now I'm ready to wash my hair. So a 2-column proof, amazingly enough, has 2 columns in it. The first one is statements. These are the things that we know are true. And the second column is reasons. These are the things we are why they are true. So I've got the things I know that are true and the things that are why they are true. What is step 1 of the 4-step process for doing a 2-column proof?
Premises.
List all my premises. Okay, so what's the first premise?
R conditional P.
R conditional P. Why do I know it's true?
Because it's a premise.
It's a premise. What's my second premise? Negation R, conditional S. Why do I know it's true? It's a premise. What's my third premise? Negation P. Why do I know it's true? It's a premise. So I start with this. I've listed my 3 premises. I've listed the reasons why they're true. Now I want to go back to this, because we're at the part where we need to add shampoo. Adding shampoo and adding water to get it so that we can wash our hair. I need to put stuff together, and I want to take a look at how stuff has been put together in the past. For modus ponens, we chose a conjunction with this because these matched. We chose a conjunction for modus tollens because these were opposites. And we chose for hypothetical syllogism, we did a conjunction because these matched. So that's the first thing I need to take a look at. I'm looking for matching letters. The second thing is, if I'm going to do these conjunctions, what always came first? The conditional. The conditional always comes first. So I'm looking at these, and I'm looking at these under 2 different types of vision. One is when I put stuff together, a parentheses conditional needs to go first. And 2, I'm looking for letters that match. Now, right now, there are 2 letters that I could possibly match. What are the 2 letters I could possibly match?
R conditional P and negation P.
I could match R conditional P with negation P. That would be something I could match. I also notice what other letters match.
R.
The R and the negation R. So there's 2 different paths I could take. Yes, sir. Oh, I thought you were going to raise your hand. Okay. So let's start with that first path. Let's put 1 and 3 together. So I want to do the conjunction of 1 and 3. Which one comes first?
1.
Why?
So 1 is.
It's a conditional. The conditional comes first. So I'm going to put R conditional P and negation P. I've added shampoo to my hair. And now I'm ready to rinse. Is this a modus ponens or a modus tollens or a hypothetical syllogism start?
Modus tollens.
This is modus ponens. What I've got here is I've got R conditional P and negation P. And that looks a lot like modus tollens, except R is taking the place of P, P is taking the place of Q. So what should I get over here? I should get negation R. So under this, I'm going to say this is negation R, and the reason is modus tollens on step 4. Now, something else that I want to keep track of. I've used step 1. I've used step 3. I've used step 4. Have I reached my conclusion? Is my hair clean?
No.
No, my conclusion is supposed to be S. I've got negation R. I've got to keep going. And if I'm going to like statements 2 and 5 would go together because they have a matching letter, don't they? So the question is, which one would I put first?
2 and then 5.
Why would I put 2 first? Okay, it's a conditional. Conditionals go first. So I'm going to have negation R, conditional S, and negation R. Is this modus ponens, modus tollens, or hypothetical syllogism?
Modus ponens.
It's modus ponens because you notice this matches the front. So modus ponens says I just write my conclusion as my consequent, S. And that's by modus ponens on step 6. Is that my conclusion?
Yes.
Hey, I must be valid. Awesome blossom. Okay. Now, I want to do this a second time. Okay. So I'm going to have my statements and my reasons. There we go again. First thing I do is I list my premises. R, conditional P, and it is a premise. I have negation R, conditional S, and that was a premise. I have negation P, and it's a premise. Now, I said there were 2 paths we could take. The first path, y'all decided to put statements 1 and 3 together because they had a P in common. But you also remarked that I do have 2 statements that share an R. The problem I have with statements 1 and 2 is if I try and put them together, if I try and put 1 first, R conditional P, and negation R conditional S,
That's nothing.
they don't match.
So why
Yes.
So pretty much you're not supposed to ever put a conjunction of 1 and 2?
I'm not going to say that. No, not at all.
No, because then you can still
The
do
issue
a
is that
contrapositive.
I need to make sure these match, and they don't match. But if I had some way to exchange and negate the antecedent and consequent, that would be negation P with negation R. Negation R, conditional negation S. And that looks a lot tastier, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
So if there was some way to exchange and negate the antecedent and consequent, that would be really nice. Does anyone know a way to exchange and negate the antecedent and consequent? Contrapositive. If I take the contrapositive of statement 1, I'm going to get negation P, conditional negation R. That gets me exactly what I want. And now, by the way, that used up step 1, didn't it? But now I can put statements 4 and 2 together.
4.
4 would have to come first in order to make sure the R's matched. Remember that those middle letters have to match. So we're going to do the conjunction of 4 and 2. So I'm going to have negation P conditional negation R and negation R conditional S. And what does that look like?
Hypothetical syllogism.
That looks an awful lot like hypothetical syllogism.
So wouldn't that imply P conditional S? Negation P.
It would be
conditional
negation P conditional S. Yes. Now here's the thing. I've used up step 4. I've used up step 2.
And
I've
step
used up
5.
step 5. What are the only steps I haven't used?
3 and 6.
3 and 6. And I haven't reached my conclusion. So then, what do I do next?
Put 6 with 3.
If I put 6 with 3, that's a conditional and that. So if I do negation P conditional S and negation P, that's the conjunction of 6 and 3. Does that look like modus ponens or modus tollens or hypothetical syllogism?
Modus tollens.
This looks a lot like modus. Actually, this matches the
Or
front.
modus ponens.
That's modus ponens. And modus ponens says we just write our consequent as our solution.
And that's another way to put it.
Now, I could actually do this problem 2 more different ways. But it's 2:51 right now. So, was there one perfect way to do a truth table?
No.
Could I do negations first and then conditionals?
Yes.
Could I do conditionals first and then negations?
Yes.
Yeah. So the order wasn't important. What was important was our destination. Did we get a tautology at the end? Similarly, there's not one correct 2-column proof. There could be 3 or 4 or 6 correct 2-column proofs. What's important is the way you put the steps together and the way that you do it. Now, when we did this as a truth table, or when we talked about this as a truth table, we had 16 rows, 12 columns, so 192 T's and F's. Here I have 8 rows and 2 columns. That's 16 things we had to write. That's a little bit better. So a 2-column proof is a more concise way to prove arguments valid. Now, last things I want to talk about. Yes?
I was going to say, why not invalid?
We're actually going to talk about why we can't prove them invalid on Monday. I want to talk about. There's a couple of words that give us problems, but there are ways that we can deal with these problems. One word that gives us problems is or. Whenever I see the word or, whenever I see something like P disjunction Q, this doesn't help because modus ponens, modus tollens, hypothetical syllogism, none of them have ors. They all have conditionals. But we talked about how there's a logically equivalent relationship between disjunctions and conditionals. That's denying the antecedent. So if I change the antecedent to its negation, this allows me to change any or to a disjunction. Yes?
So, couldn't we, if we could do that, then couldn't we do denying the consequent for if there was a conjunction in the first?
The problem is that's going to give us the opposite of a conditional, and none of the modus ponens, modus tollens, hypothetical syllogism have a negation conditional. Yes, sir?
Can a conditional also be a conditional if it doesn't have the then, but it has an if?
In English, yeah. If you clean your room, you can go to the mall. That's still an if-then statement. I just didn't say the word then. So this is the first situation. Whenever I see a disjunction, I want to change it to a conditional by using denying the antecedent. The other keyword that I have is and. And is another one that causes problems. But again, if I have P conjunction Q, we talked about how we could just break off the piece that we want. What theorem allows us to say P conjunction Q implies P? That's theorem 8a. So if I wanted to just break off a conjunction, just get the piece that I need, that's just theorem 8a. So whenever I see a disjunction, I want to rewrite it as a conditional using denying the antecedent. Whenever I see a conjunction, I want to think about breaking off pieces that I need using theorem 8a. Yes?
What if you didn't, like, the last sentence was negation P. Couldn't you, like, say the premise 1 was R conditional P and premise 2 was R conditional S, and then it said, and then the conclusion was negation P.
Well, that's actually what we're going to talk about on Monday.
Wouldn't that still be valid? Because then if you did the contrapositive of R conditional P conditional R, it would be negation P conditional negation R, and then if you do the conclusion would be negation P.
You could do things like that, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Okay.